Hello and welcome to Out and About Art, your PGTV source for all things art in Polk County. I'm your host, Yasmin Ali. The year 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which guarantees and protects women's constitutional right to vote. In honor of this momentous and important occasion, the Polk County History Center has assembled a new exhibit that chronicles the women's suffrage movement on both national and local levels. Check this out to see some highlights from the opening night of the exhibit and to learn about the significance of the 19th Amendment from Historic Preservation Manager Myrtis Young.
2020 marks the centennial anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote. We, as Historical Center, a center of education and learning, recognize that this is such an important opportunity for us to bring to mind keeping the Constitution, the United States Constitution, at the forefront of our discussion this year and talk about not only women's rights to vote, but the entire theme of democracy, the entire theme of civil responsibility. What does it mean to be an American citizen? Does my voice matter? So throughout the year, our hope and our plan is to bring this discussion to the forefront, stimulate thought, stimulate conversation, and stimulate an opportunity for people to think about and talk about that right to vote and what that means. You know, as you open an exhibit, you want to bring a feeling of reality, a feeling of emotion and drama to the opening. Our exhibits at the History Center are very text-rich. They're beautiful. We're very fortunate that we have a great designer, but they're facts, and it's history, and it's a lot of text. So when we have an opening, we like to do it with a little bit of drama. So our opening was a very exciting night as Ruth Bryan Owen came to life in the museum, portrayed by J. Lenore Bristler. And she brought this character, Florida's first Congresswoman, Florida's first lady to serve in the state. She brought her to life and told her story and her life accomplishments as a lady congresswoman, and a lady who brought attention to the importance of local elections.
You know, I was born in Jacksonville, Illinois, but I'm far more recognized as being around Jacksonville, Florida. I must tell you, being back here, I live in Copenhagen, Denmark now, but being back here, it's made me very reminiscent, very nostalgic. Those orange blossoms, the smell of them, I couldn't help myself. I went back and dug through my old storage boxes and I got out my sign from my 1928 campaign when I ran for the 4th Congressional District of Florida. Yes, I did. It said, "Spirit of Florida." I put that on the back of my 1928 green Ford Coupe, and I drove and drove over 16,000 miles and over 700 speeches in a 3-month period. Well, but here we are, commemorating the 19th Amendment back in 1919 and feeling nostalgic again. I enjoyed so much going back and finding the clothes I wore during that era. It's been a while. I don't look quite the same as I did back then, but 1919. I well remember that. I was already 34, but I remember thinking, I thought it was so ridiculous that here we were in the modern era, in the second decade of the 20th century, and votes for women was controversy. I mean, in the Stone Age, I could not understand it. But I guess some people, and by that I have to say, yes, women too, was not just the men that were against women suffrage at one time, but our women friends as well. They just couldn't see it. But I guess by 1919, it was the time had come for that message.
The birth of an exhibit. How does that happen? The first thing I went to was the Polk County History Center library and discovered in a Florida Quarterly a lovely article that had been written several years ago about a state author about women of the suffrage movement. So the exhibit started there with our own research, and then we branched that out, archives, national archives, other archives around the state, doing research, compiling photographs and images. We work with a local design firm, and they do all of the graphics, all the design, the fabrication, and the installation of the exhibit. So for this particular exhibit, we have designed it to be a complementary exhibit for an upcoming Smithsonian exhibit that will be here at the History Center in October. It is a traveling exhibit that is a replica or is designed to have the same story as the national exhibit in Washington, D.C., which is about democracy. So the exhibit is one very important part of the project. That is the stationary story, the interpretation of the suffrage movement. And hopefully from reading that history and reading about the women who were involved in this movement, it stimulates thought about the Constitution and what it means to be an American citizen with a right to vote. In all the exhibits that we bring into the History Center, we try to focus on the local story. That's our mission, is Polk County history. But of course, our history doesn't occur just within the boundaries of the United States or just within the boundaries of Polk County, but it extends in what's happening nationally and internationally. So the exhibit features the suffrage movement as it occurred all over the United States, but we focus also on women, local women, who participated very vigorously in the suffrage movement. One such lady is Mary B. Jewett, a name I'm sure people have heard but may not have connected her with this very important time in history. So she is featured in the exhibit, her role in participating as a suffragette and some of the accomplishments that she was involved with. A little known fact is that actually women in Florida were given the right to vote in municipal elections before 1920. And one such municipality is Florence Villa, and that is closely tied to the endeavors of Mary B. Jewett. So I hope everybody comes in and reads that story. Winter Haven is proud of this name, but all of Polk County is very proud of her involvement in the suffrage movement. Another feature that we like to offer in exhibits is an opportunity for the visitor to participate in the exhibit. So you'll find some interactive pieces in the exhibit. So while you're studying, reading, and learning about this important time in history, we have 3 areas where you can actually participate. One is a chalkboard that gives you an opportunity to write out why you vote. And we have had some very interesting, whimsical answers to that question. And after you give us your impression on why you vote, don't miss the web of protest. This gives you, it's very artistic, it gives you an opportunity to participate in the development of a web using the 3 colors of the suffrage movement to vote on your opinions about certain protest activities. Don't miss that. And then of course there's the mirror where you actually can create a self-image of a suffragette. So don't miss that. Read the exhibit, but don't forget the interactive pieces. They're really fun. In addition to the text in the exhibit, there are lovely, lovely posters that have been created. They're life-size posters that have been installed in the exhibit, and those are really fun and interesting and very dramatic, and in their own way tell a story, a very emotional, dramatic story about this period in history. This was not a walk in the park for these ladies. These ladies were arrested. They were put in prison, and some of these images portray that drama that they went through. So we want you to be able to see this, experience this, and also realize that the exhibit will be in place for 3 years. The Smithsonian portion will be traveling, I think it's 35 states in the United States over the next 5 years. So we wanted to correspond closely to that traveling schedule. So we will have this exhibit in place for 3 years.
For more information on upcoming programming and exhibits at the Polk County History Center, visit polk-county.net www.lakeland.org/history-center. This month, we're shining our spotlight on a self-taught artist who transforms emotional turmoil into arresting works of abstract art. Alice Absolutely is a Polk County native who discovered her passion for creating art while working as an educator. She also exercises her talent by creating stunningly graphic portraits which comment on popular culture and portray themes of memory and identity. Here's a look at the meaningful, emotional artwork of Alice Absolutely.
I'm Alice Absolutely. I'm an abstract artist. I also do some portrait work. I like to create art that is emotive, expressive, and I'm really fascinated by texture and color and depth. I was born and raised in Polk County. I'm from Winter Haven. Spent pretty much my entire life in Polk County. I left to go to Stetson University for 3.5 years and came right back. I really love Polk County, which is kind of crazy. Most people won't admit to that. People are like, oh, it's Polk County. There's a lot of art going on in Polk County, and you really don't have to try that hard to find it. I've had so many wonderful experiences in the community, and I've only really been doing the art thing for like 1.5 years. I think getting on to 2 years now. And I foolishly thought when I was getting started, hey, maybe I need to go to Orlando, maybe I need to go to St. Pete, maybe I need to go to Sarasota. And I did things in those communities, but quickly found that, hey, I don't need to drive 1.5 hours. It's really right down the street, and it's been great. Well, I think I was drawn to abstract art first because I'm a self-taught artist and I couldn't draw, but I really wanted to create artwork. When a piece of artwork is really representational, it becomes like a text, just like the written word. Your audience looks at it and they know exactly what it is. But with abstract art, they really have to think about it. They have to feel it to understand it. And that was very appealing to me. My first collection of artwork is an abstract collection of artwork. It's called Flying High at the End of My Rope. I'm a really emotional person, and sometimes I feel like my emotions are a circus and they just run away with me. So when I was working on the abstract pieces for Flying High at the End of My Rope, I had artwork that was entitled Solitude and Fear and Sunshine and Dilemma, and I just felt like I was all over the place. And it was great because every piece was a different technique and every piece was something new. The abstract artwork really starts off as emotional catharsis. It typically ends up being an emotion that I haven't figured out myself how to cope with, how to deal with. And that's where it starts, and it goes on from there. There's a lot of memory that's tied into that. I have a piece called Fear, and when I was working on that piece, I thought about how fear made me feel in my body physically, how it made me feel emotionally, what memories happened that contributed to that feeling, what I needed to do with it. That was a piece that came about in a particularly rocky point in my professional life, and I was looking at what I was going to do when I wasn't a teacher anymore, because teaching had been such a huge part of my life. So I was at a point where I was really scared. I had spent 16 years of my adult life, another 6 years of my academic career preparing to be where I was at as a teacher, and all that was gonna change. So pieces tend to work like that. They tend to be something that's just this big, overarching emotional mess that I have to figure out. What does it look like? What does it feel like? How do I move on from this? How do I cope with this? So my abstract pieces are emotional therapy. Hence the title for the collection, Flying High at the End of My Rope. It's my emotional mess. My second collection of artwork is I'm Not a Feminist, I Just Want Pockets. There are some abstract pieces in that, but a lot of that is portraiture work of women that I find empowering. The first piece that I did for that was a piece on Elizabeth Taylor. Working on her piece of portraiture was like, this woman was scandalous in Hollywood when you weren't scandalous in Hollywood. And I spent a lot of time reading about her before I decided this was the person that I wanted to paint. I actually painted the piece for the Ridge Art Association's Black and White with a Pop of Red show. When you're painting someone, you spend a lot of time thinking about them, thinking about their life, thinking about their strengths and what it must have been like to walk a mile in their shoes. Moving forward from there, I had this really great list from important women in my life. That's who I turned to. I asked my mom, I asked coworkers, I asked former bosses and mentors, who do you look at and think to yourself, that girl right there? So I had this great list of women that were empowering to other powerful women in my life. And Chanel Miller just really stood out. She was the Emily Doe in the Stanford rape case in 2015. The canvas I put her on is huge. It's a 36 by 48 piece, and I ended up spending 8 weeks really thinking about what it's like to have control over your identity and decide, I'm not at the point where I want to be an Emily Doe anymore. I want people to know my name, and that's her book that came out in September, Know My Name. And how empowering it must be for her to look at the tragedy that happened in her life, but take control over it and say, I own this is part of who I am, and it's changed who I am, but I'm going to control how it changes who I am. So that was an emotional piece for me, and her messages about how universities handle campus sexual assault are very important. The institutional inequities for how we treat victims of violence, particularly women, is something we don't like to talk about, and I don't think we like to talk about it as women because it's very uncomfortable. At every point in your life, no matter what your venture is, you have to start thinking about your legacy. You have to think about what message you're leaving behind for people. That was very relevant in my education as an English major and my education as a writer. It was at the forefront of my career as a teacher, is the notion of helping people find themselves. After 16 years in the classroom, I helped a lot of people find themselves as adults. And I hope that my artwork helps people find themselves emotionally, helps people find themselves with some political awareness. I think we live in an age where two people can look at the exact same reality and have completely different interpretations. That's really scary, but that is the reality that we live in. And the line between fact and opinion is very blurry. I think if we all just keep at the forefront best intentions for the world, best intentions for each other, that line's not so scary, and that blur doesn't really matter as much because we're both headed in mutually beneficial directions. I think that's important, and I think that's hard, and I hope that my artwork makes people think about the reality that's in front of them, the emotions that are in front of them, the reasons why they think or feel what they're thinking and feeling, and helps people check that reality and make sure that their motivations are right.
To keep up with the artwork of Alice Absolutely, visit her website at www.aliceabsolutely.com. To end our episode this month, if you're looking for something to push you out of your comfort zone on Tuesday nights, then you won't want to miss this segment. Lakeland Salsa Swing was established in March of last year by Finley Walker and his wife Carmen, with the mission of bringing members of the Polk County community together through the art of dance. Through a partnership with the City of Lakeland's Parks and Rec Department, students are able to learn about a variety of Latin dance styles every Tuesday night at the Lake Mirror Auditorium. Let's take a look.
My name is Finley Walker. My wife and I run Lakeland Salsa and Swing, and it's basically a low-key social dance community for those in the Central Florida and specifically Lakeland, Polk County area. My wife and I, we moved to Lakeland about 4, going on 5 years ago, and we've had a passion for dance. I used to teach in Virginia, and that's where we met. We moved to Lakeland and we looked for places to go dancing, and we just kind of had a hard time finding a good spot. We didn't love driving to Orlando or Tampa, and although there are some places you can take classes in Lakeland, there's Just Dance in downtown, Kelly Rec Center, you can take some classes. They do a dance thing at Jade Fox and at Mason's Life, but none of those really fit the atmosphere that we were looking for. And so we just thought, well, why don't we try to start something? And so I reached out to some different people, and the City of Lakeland has been amazing. They've graciously allowed us to use some of their spaces to teach our Tuesday night classes, and it's kind of been a partnership with them. Oh, my introduction to salsa was my Spanish teacher in high school. She taught us the few basic steps, and then my senior prom, it was a swing dancing theme. So those are some things that kind of gave me a taste for social dancing and ballroom style dancing. When I got to college, I got connected with a group that would go dancing every weekend, and it just kind of grew from there. I loved it. I loved the socializing, connecting with other people. It's a fun thing, and when I was younger, I had pretty low self-esteem, and I was kind of insecure, and dancing was a big thing for me in my life to kind of help give me more confidence, help boost my self-esteem and how I talk to other people, and just kind of how I approach life. You know, dance is a great metaphor for life, and how, you know, you make a mistake, you stumble, but just continuing on through the dance. So we teach a very, what I would consider a modern social style of salsa. It's the kind of style that you might see at a party or a club. It's really a mixture of things, just like the food. Its origins come from a lot of different places, and it's all mixed in together. And so salsa really isn't just one thing, but what we try to do is we try to take some basic steps that have become very traditional to the music of salsa, and incorporate that into simple choreography for people to learn. And each week we cover a few different steps, maybe 3 or 4 steps and turns, and then from there it's about the dancer over time learning and putting all of that together. So from the foundational step, learning how to move to the music, and then adding in a turn and different types of choreography from there. When I was in college, I had a roommate and one of my best friends, and every week I would ask him to go dancing. And every week he said, no way. I don't dance, I've never danced, I'm not interested. But I kept bugging him. Just everybody's like, man, you would love it, it's so much fun, you should come dancing, you can meet some people. And after several months of that, like a whole semester, I egged him on, and he finally relented, and he's like, okay, I'll go. He tried it out one time, and he was hooked. He loved it so much, he came every week with me. So much so that today he teaches in LA at a professional dance studio and competes professionally. So, you know, try it. You never know, you might find a new passion, a new love. One of the nice things about salsa dancing is that if you come and you're learning, everyone is learning, everyone's kind of on the same page, and everyone else is so focused on themselves that they're not really worried about you. So if you think other people are looking at you and they're like criticizing you because you're not doing something right, that's not happening, because everyone's focused on themselves. So no one else is judging how you're doing, and you don't need to judge yourself. So allow yourself to get past the awkwardness and try it. Give it a genuine try. It's easy to get frustrated, especially people that excel in other areas if they're not getting it right away. But it can take time, especially if it's a new type of music you're not used to. It takes time to hear the rhythms and the beats and to learn how to move to it. And so you have to be patient with yourself. And I'll tell students, like at the end of the day, like there's no life exam on how well you do with the dance class. You're not getting tested or graded on it, and it's not like it predicts your future success when it comes to your business or your marriage. So the stakes are pretty low when it comes to learning to dance, and so hopefully that's freeing for people, that they can just have fun, because that's really what it's about. It's about having fun and connecting with other people, and maybe learning something more about yourself. A lot of people, again, me, when I was younger, like feel very uncomfortable in their bodies. It's almost as like my body is foreign to me in a way. And so dancing, the intentionality of just kind of forcing yourself to think about how you move your body and to move your body with intention and purpose with music, it really does something in the mind and in the soul to help you connect with yourself, just to kind of understand your own body better and your own movements, your own strengths and skills and what you're capable of. And I think through that comes more of an if you allow it, a higher appreciation for yourself, a higher love for yourself. Dance is something that's for everyone. I think it's a very human thing, just like music and literature and art. Dance is a form of art. It's an expression of the human spirit, and to communicate in a way that words cannot always communicate. And so in that sense, I think it is for everyone. So with any artistic endeavor, I think it's a precious thing to preserve for our communities, for our culture, for our children, to preserve art, to pass down the traditions of music and dance and these different things, these different human expressions, things to communicate, emotionally and spiritually. That just seems invaluable. I don't know how to even begin to put a price on that. And so to continue that, to continue to value the arts and the expressions seems super important. We have people that come almost every week. We have this one guy, he's from Peru, lives in Sebring, drives up here almost every week. But we also have brand new people every week. Since we started in March, there's not been 1 week where we haven't had new people. So it's been an amazing experience. We've met lots of wonderful people, and we love Lakeland. Lakeland is very community friendly, it's very family friendly, and Lakelanders are active. It's an amazing thing when you live in a community where people will come out on a Tuesday night of all times and try something new, and they'll go salsa dancing. But that's the kind of place that Lakeland is.
Lakeland Salsa and Swing holds class every Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m. in the Lake Mirror Auditorium in Lakeland. For more information, visit their website at lakelandsalsa.com and follow them on Facebook by searching for Lakeland Salsa and Swing. Well, that's all I have for this month, but there's always plenty going on within the Polk County art scene. Stay tuned for a list of art events in your area. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next month for more art out and about.